They weren't just two of the best point guards alive, they were two different philosophies crashing into each other like waves on hardwood. On one end, Kyrie Irving, a wizard of footwork and finesse whose handles whispered poetry. On the other, Stephen Curry, the long-range assassin who broke the game with a smile. When they finally clashed in their prime, the world didn't just witness a game, it witnessed a basketball ballet at war. Chapter 1. The Rise of Two Forces. The journey to this moment was years in the making. Both Kyrie Irving and Stephen Curry had taken vastly different roads to NBA stardom, yet somehow, destiny seemed determined to intertwine them. Kyrie was the crown jewel of Duke, an electric guard with jaw-dropping handles, lightning-fast crossovers, and the uncanny ability to finish in traffic with either hand. Even before he stepped onto an NBA court, scouts whispered about his ceiling being limitless. Drafted first overall in 2011 by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kyrie walked into a franchise still reeling from LeBron James's departure. But Kyrie didn't flinch. Even on losing teams, his brilliance was undeniable. He danced around defenders, dropped 40-point games like confetti, and reminded the league that artistry still mattered. Meanwhile, Steph Curry's path was riddled with doubt. Too small, too skinny, ankles made of glass. Coming out of Davidson, people believed in his shooting stroke, but not much else. The Warriors took a chance in 2009, but even they didn't expect him to become the face of a basketball revolution. What began as a nice story turned into a supernova. By 2015, Curry had turned the three-point shot into a weapon of mass destruction. He didn't just shoot from deep, he shot from ridiculous. Half court became his comfort zone, and every kid on the planet wanted to shoot like Steph. By the time both guards hit their physical and mental peaks, the NBA had evolved into their playground. They weren't just all-stars, they were forces, and fate set the stage for an all-time classic showdown. Chapter 2, 2016 NBA Finals, Game 5, the turning point. It was the finals that felt like a movie script, the 73-win Warriors, the returning King LeBron. And in the middle of all that drama, a duel between two of the most electrifying guards the league had ever seen. Game 5 of the 2016 NBA Finals wasn't just basketball, it was magic, fire, and fury all in one. With the Warriors up 3-1, everyone expected a coronation. What they got was a collision course between two prime guards refusing to be outdone. Kyrie Irving walked into Oracle Arena with the swagger of a man who knew he was about to etch his name into history. No fear, no hesitation, just surgical footwork and savage confidence. He didn't just score, he carved up the defense with precision. Floaters, pull-ups, crossovers so violent they should have come with a warning. He torched the Warriors with 41 points on 70% shooting. But Steph Curry wasn't backing down. Even in defeat, he launched heat checks that sent the crowd into a frenzy. One dribble over half court, pull, network then another, pull, bang. Kyrie might have had the edge that night, but Curry's gravity was undeniable. He stretched the court like no one else could, warping the defense and opening lanes others couldn't dream of. The battle wasn't just about points, it was about identity. Kyrie represented calculated chaos, an artist painting with every dribble. Steph embodied effortless destruction, a shooter whose confidence was as dangerous as his skill. And that night, they both were perfect. Chapter 3, Handles versus Range, a War of Styles. What made this matchup so electrifying wasn't just the scoring, it was the how. Kyrie Irving's handles have long been considered the gold standard, but in his prime, they became supernatural. He didn't just cross people, he dismantled them. It was like watching an illusionist perform sleight of hand. One jab step and defenders were sliding like they were on ice. Kyrie had an ability to change direction mid-air, absorb contact, and still finish with finesse. He was a street baller in a surgical glove. And then you had Steph. Range was his religion. Defenders couldn't relax the moment he crossed half court. He could dribble left, step back right, and still launch a three so quick it barely registered in slow-mo. His shot mechanics were faster than most players' thoughts, and it wasn't just that he could make them. It was the audacity. Pulling up with 22 seconds left on the clock, normal. Pulling from 35 feet in transition, welcome to the new NBA. But here's what made their showdown pure poetry. The contrast. Kyrie was about breaking defenders down to find an angle. Curry was about evading them entirely with quick releases and insane off-ball movement. When they shared the court, it was two chess masters making moves at hyperspeed. Kyrie would string together 5 dribbles, fake, spin, finish at the rim. Steph would use 2 off-ball screens, disappear into the corner, catch, and splash a 3 with less than a second of daylight. Different styles. Same result. Buckets. Chapter 4, Legacy on the Line, Game 7 Heroics, Game 7, Everything on the Line. In a series that felt like destiny being rewritten in real time, Kyrie Irving and Stephen Curry entered the final game not just to win a ring, but to prove a point. The tension inside Oracle Arena was nuclear. LeBron had been sensational all series, but everyone watching knew it would come down to which point guard would take over the moment. Kyrie didn't blink. From the first quarter, he was in his bag, bouncing defenders off his hip, gliding through contact and hitting absurd jumpers with that signature high arc release. He read every screen like a novel, slipping through creases and contorting his body at impossible angles. But it wasn't just flash, this was surgical execution. Kyrie was composed, calculated, deadly. Steph Curry? You could see the weight of expectation pressing on him. He had moments, quick bursts of brilliance that reminded you who he was. A no-look 3, a ridiculous behind-the-back pass. But he also struggled against Cleveland's physicality. They forced him into tough looks, and unlike previous games, his magic didn't always connect. And then, that shot. Score tied at 89. Less than a minute to go. Kyrie dancing at the top of the key. One dribble, step back, over Steph Curry. Bang. A shot heard around the world. It wasn't just the dagger that sealed the game. It was a symbolic torchbearer. Kyrie Irving had outdueled the 2-time MVP on the biggest stage imaginable. Steph had led a dynasty, sure, but that night, Kyrie was the better player. Chapter 5. What if they switched teams? It's the question that NBA fans whisper when debating legacies. What if Kyrie and Steph had traded places? Imagine Kyrie Irving on those Warriors squads, surrounded by Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and eventually Kevin Durant. His one-on-one brilliance paired with a team that moved the ball like clockwork? He wouldn't have needed to hit miracle shots, he would have had open lanes all game. And with Steve Kerr's offensive sets, Kyrie could have averaged 30 on 60% shooting, no question. Now flip it. Picture Steph Curry in Cleveland. Instead of spacing and pace, he's working off post-ups and isolation. No Splash Brothers, no death lineup, just LeBron drawing doubles and Steph spotting up. He would have still shined, no doubt. But the margin for error would have shrunk. Could he survive the physical punishment Cleveland endured? Could he carry the scoring load when defenses keyed in? Their greatness wasn't just individual, it was contextual. Kyrie thrived in chaos. Steph thrived in structure. But both, unquestionably elite. And that's what made their finals clash so compelling. It was more than a game. It was an ideological duel. Artistry versus analytics. ISO versus movement. Fire versus finesse. And for one night, the world got to watch them both in their prime. No excuses, no holding back. When you talk about the greatest point guard duels in NBA history, you mention Magic versus Isaiah, CP3 versus D. Will, maybe even Dame versus Ruski. But prime Kyrie versus prime Curry, that was something else. It wasn't just 2 stars trading baskets, it was 2 generations colliding. And the legacy of that clash, it's still echoing through every step back 3 and off the dribble highlight we see today. So here's the question. When it mattered most, who really had the better prime? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hoops history that hits different.